when we look at the series layout, it is a good one for NaVi as I looked across, you know, how the qualifiers went, who's been good at what maps. This general series, it's actually probably better for NaVi when you look at every single aspect of it, whether we're going Slayer, whether we're going into the game modes, whether it's CTF. There will still, though, be that era of doubt in a European roster of getting over that hurdle. Can they get the job done in 3? Is it going to end up as a Game 5? And if it does, Empyrean Slayer is a very difficult game to navigate against a Rebellion roster that features RyaNoob, who is the ultimate sneaky beaver.
Well, let's actually zoom in on our first game. Let's hyper-focus now. Oddball recharge. As we go into game 1, what jumped off the page? What can we expect here in game 1?
I mean, this is one of NaVi's best oddball game types. Very good indeed at knowing how they get those setups, how they lock them down so they can secure as much points as possible. There's 2 players I want to focus on. I want to focus on Snipedrone. He won't be picking up that ball, but he is going to be someone who's been doing that damage, making things work. And on the other side, we've got Rayne. He won't touch the ball whatsoever, but you better believe he's going to be in the faces of NaVi.
This series right here could have serious implications as to who progresses into the winner's side of the bracket come the end of pool play. Can it be Rebellion, or will NaVi cause the upset? And if they want to do it, it's right here, right now.
And you can learn so much at the start of a game here on Recharge as well. How are the teams going to be trying to get that ball? Where are they going to be trying to get that ball? Where is their priority position and their ideal setup? Already, NaVi have got it in pipes, and this is the important factor. Get that shock in the hands of Snipedrone. We've seen what he was able to do last season. Now is he going to have even more chance to elevate himself?
It's Snipedrone. Position top pipes, a little bit of timing there, just off as he de-scopes for a second. Can he be shock drone for a moment? Fires one towards RyaNoob, will not connect too much, will not do the damage required to get the kill, that much is for sure. But the setup's been broken pretty quickly here as RyaNoob soars into pipe trying to secure that territory for his team. Snipedrone gets shut down. And numbers advantage ever so slightly in favor of NaVi here as ball is played down bottom middle.
And one thing for NaVi, they really struggled last season with their ability to react to how North American teams were playing. They were a little bit too rigid, a little bit too scared, but ever since the change, ever since the addition of Snipedrone, they do seem far more comfortable in their own skin. They are happy to... They will play strict at times, and it's very important to do so, but when they have to just amp it up, then they have to change the pace, they're able to do so now.
Mental on our screens here. On our, it has to be said, 22-time Gears of War champion. They set on the desk as he picks up 2. How old is this man if he's got 22 championships under his belt?
Oh!
Making a triple kill. And Mental is trying to announce himself on the world stage here. And RyaNoob being his coach, maybe he can make the difference. He's another member of the Academy of RyaNoob.
And then Mental playing Mental at the moment. I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on this young man, not just at this event, but as we progress through this season. Speaking of eyes, Snakey tries to avoid the eyes now, has the camouflage to work with, and that's sometimes what you need to try and break any sort of setup, as RyaNoob will do his best, but it's not going to work out on this occasion.
2 dead apiece then. Map resets for a moment. Ball back home. Karmea positions. Top bat ledge. Will secure a kill onto Jimbo. Now will scoop up the ball, will be RyaNoob. Back into gold pipes. This is good for Rebellion here as they start to build a little bit of a lead. Snakey still has a bit of a camo here, but must be running out of juice. And there it is, it's gone. Karmea spins around, nails him with the plasma pistol, shot 2, and ball will be played. They recognize the danger, and Rebellion already starting to click through the gears here with 52 points to 12.
You can always trust RyaNoob to make sure that ball gets out of the danger areas. You can see he's the one who's been scoring all the points so far for Rebellion, and it's allowed the rest of the squad to just be slaying, but RyaNoob is still in areas to make it awkward for NaVi. 3 go down, and then suddenly Snipedrone's left to just try and pick up the pieces here alongside Mighty.
Mighty in a tough spot. Gets killed. You see across the map, Mental and Snipedrone in the 1v1, and Snipedrone doesn't often lose them, but he has this time, and RyaNoob tries to give the wiggles, but unfortunately he gets shut down. Snakey picks up 2, but ball will be thrown off. That's going to be another reset. 66 to 12 now. Rebellion making this really difficult.
And during the qualifiers, Rebellion had a lot of success on this game type as well. I may have said that NaVi, you know, it's one of their better ball games, but certainly for Rebellion, it is just perfect for their playstyle with how they set up, with how they break setups. And you've been able to see it so far in this game. This maybe is going to be a temporary chance, though, for NaVi to get that ball locked down. But look at how awkward every single time Rebellion to make it. The ball is always in an area where NaVi have to commit to it, and they're just unable to do so.
Every time they get the numbers. Again, Rebellion making this very, very difficult indeed. And you can see why. Snakey finally gets his hands on the ball. They have numbers advantage here. Bottom elevator is going to be the play. as he clambers up, and zMightys is trying to provide that cover fire. Spawns over towards top gold. Rotations will come through, and Snakey immediately loses 2 members. Snipedrone and Jimbo in the respawn screen, but opting to still try and hold this ball and milk it for all it's worth before the push comes.
And I will say, usually NaVi, they share the ball load between Jimbo, Snakey, and zMightys quite well. But it is Jimbo, when they have success, Jimbo often has the most ball time. He's not really been able to get into the objective so far, but he has been picking up big kills. And I think that's what's important for any team, not just NaVi, is about making sure you take advantage of the positions you're put in at that time.
Snipedrone then, what can he do? Widely regarded as Europe's best ever player, our best export. And he'll be looking to make the difference here in the black and gold. More familiar to wearing the purple of last season, but 4 dead go NaVi. Rayne and his long-time duo in RyaNoob, who now has the ball. Rayne fires a couple of shots towards Snipedrone, but he's just able to manipulate. That's a word, Dan. I forgot to do those words. And he has managed to get away. Scamper bottom middle. Snakey faces him up though. It's a 1v1, and Snakey somehow, some way gets reversal. And when stuff like that happens to you, start to fear the worst.
I do feel like Rayne is the unsung hero of pretty much every roster he's ever featured on, because he does the dirty work, because sometimes he goes a little bit unnoticed, but you will see it in the stats, whether it be the amount of kills, the assists, he's always up there. And he is going to be such an integral part of this Rebellion roster, and their big push to try and get, you know, not just top 6, they want top 4, they want top 3. Every team here wants to be able to win an event.
88 then, 39 on the side of NaVi in round 1. Rebellion in the ascendancy, at least for now. Making this a very difficult kill once more. Jimbo chases it, his trade does come through, and Snipedrone hits the 4 shots onto Karmea, but is a little bit too late.
Was good timing though from Jimbo. It's sometimes you're going to be reluctant to push in alone because you can leave your team in a 3 versus 4, but Jim did enough damage and he knew he had players nearby. A Snipedrone, patient as ever, watches like a hawk, able to stay invisible, but now he needs some help because RyaNoob comes on in. And I tell you what, Snipedrone, if he was able to get away, this could have been very different. But at least NaVi have ball control now. They can hold it over towards blue, they can play it when they feel like they are under enough pressure, but Jimbo's holding back the world at the moment.
Mental gets another kill, 3 dead now for NaVi. Been impressed so far by Mental, winning those 1v1s, every pivot that comes his way. He seems to be coming out on top, and that's exactly what you need for Rebellion here as they rotate the ball, only requiring 4 more seconds. Desperation on the side of NaVi as they cannot stop the ball, scoring 1-0 Rebellion.
It's a great start for Rebellion, and it's what they needed just to shut down the momentum from NaVi. After that series NaVi had with FaZe, getting 1 map off them, tying on Imperium as well, NaVi would have been feeling so confident. And it means now NaVi need to reassess. What are we doing wrong? Why are we not able to get these setups that perhaps we have been able to during these European qualifiers? But North American teams are very different. They play in a different style, and you have to adapt.
That's important to note about NaVi. They took an objective game against FaZe, and maybe your expectations rose a little bit for the tournament. Okay, we can compete against some of the big boys, but you play against Rebellion now, and they show you, and they almost put you straight back in your box.
I did like at the end, though, you see Snipedrone prioritizing trying to kill that ball because you had to. I've seen so many players in those situations still just get kills for no reason. But I think NaVi have their eyes firmly set on trying to secure a victory here so they can get top 2 in this group. Now, it's not a guarantee. When we look at these pools, often we would say, okay, 1 and 2 is probably likely. Even the open teams that are going to be coming into these pools are going to be unreal. The open bracket is stacked, and I cannot wait to see who is going to be breaking through.
Open bracket is an absolute bloodbath. Many big hitters in there, like Proton, Native White and indeed Native Red in there. I do not want to be a player competing, and if it was, I'd be double-rounded, let's be honest. And looking at RyaNoob, 66 points on the board, now scoops it up once more, trying to add more to his tally. As he sends a player away from zMightys, crouches down just to avoid the headshot. 2 dead apiece, but it's Karmea with ball. Snipedrone comes in, tries to find the face, but Snipedrone does get the kill.
Could have been so different if you hit that headshot as well. It's why it's so important when you've got that shock to line it up, take your time a little bit. I've been impressed with Karmea so far though, and I think they touched upon it on the desk. This was not just a random pickup for Rebellion. This was a very much assessed squad. This is a RyaNoob special once more, and RyaNoob very good at deciding who he wants to be teaming with, how he wants to plan the nature of the squad, and how they're going to be assessing these games as well. I do think so far here on Oddball Recharge, it's all starting to play into the hands of the strategy that Rebellion want to try and approach. But NaVi now doing a little bit better. Now they've been able to get 3 or 4 down and the camouflage, this is their best opportunity to score.
Can Jimbo turn his fortunes around in this game? Camouflage and shock rifle in hand. Does lose a teammate though. They are scoring. First shot will not find a home. That's going to make this an even more difficult task as teammates fall around them. They have had the opportunity to play the ball. As Jim finds one, can he line up the second onto Rayne? He cannot do so, but a teammate is on hand to get the trade there. Camouflage will survive for the moment. Jim's just missing those vital shots, Dan.
It's okay, it's not the end of the world. He's still connecting with a few, and one big difference I've noticed from NaVi of Season 1 to NaVi of now is they are reacting to call-outs a lot quicker. They are making sure there is that finish, that there is that trade. Jimbo may not have survived last season, but he's doing so well at the moment to make Rebellion think about him, and he still gets that reversal. Of course, ammo run out on the other side, but the fact that Jim is still alive, still holding pipes, means that Rebellion off spawn constantly are having to think about him.
Map's been reset then. Karmea sliding across C-plat, still manages to find a couple of shots onto Jimbo. Just enough to let him know he's there. A couple of members of Rebellion positioned over towards the long haul side, and Rayne's the first one to feel the wrath of Jimbo. Still controlling the commando, still controlling and patrolling around this glass area, and indeed controlling pipes. Ball over towards the elevator now. Karmea gets a couple of shots and again fires back. But this is much better from NaVi.
Yeah, can we look at Snakey as well? I mean, he has the second most amount of kills, excuse me, and is still picking up that objective. And I think that's something that NaVi have had to work on as they've progressed, is making sure that people are doing all of the dirty work, and you don't just leave it up to Jimbo, who's had to play a very different role in this game, as he's the last remaining player, still alive, still surviving, and still being a nuisance, now has a shock rifle.
His teammates, though, although Jim was living all the livelong day, unfortunately for him, his teammates couldn't do so over on the elevator side, and that setup was blown wide open, and now Rebellion starting to score some more points, and just closing the gap now that NaVi managed to surmount. With one dead apiece now, Jimbo with camouflage and shock rifle for the second successive time in a row. Can he have the more desired effect here with it? As he throws the ball over towards Whirlpool, fires a warning shot over towards Mental, but will not connect. Has got enemies around him, playing this one patiently with a little bit of trigger discipline, but he gets lit up. Doesn't know where he is now. Jim is still alive here.
Honestly, we've been watching like a pleasant fishing trip for Jim. He's just been slowly marauding around the map, picking up a camo, and then picking up the shock rifle, then grabs the ball. It was far too peaceful, and Rebellion had to make sure they did shut him down, which they eventually do. But all the meanwhile, NaVi weren't really scoring that many points. They do still find themselves ahead with 1 minute and 52 remaining, as Snipedrone adds another kill, making it 21 now. 3 dead for Rebellion, and NaVi need to take advantage of this.
Big damage from Snipedrone, 4 dead for Rebellion. Now all of a sudden, NaVi starting to find their feet in this game. Can they build on it now? They find themselves down by a single round at the moment. That grenade does a lot of damage on the Snakey and indeed zMightys, but they're clearing out pipes once more, and Rebellion are on the back foot.
Rebellion very good at getting that final nade in, though, to make it awkward to pick up the ball, to pick up those seconds, but now they can hold it. And they're going to have a good setup here in Elevator, so Rebellion, we're going to learn a lot about how they try and break these setups. I've always credited any RyaNoob team in being able to break setups successfully, but with RyaNoob going down first, that's not really the opening, as now they're going to fall like flies, and NaVi should be able to clean things up comfortably.
Back-to-back 3 deads then for Rebellion. That push was not successful, and NaVi inching ever closer to that 100-point threshold now. 5 seconds required, and nobody seems to be in a position for Rebellion. Grenades come in, but Snakey's just going to be able to survive. 1-1 the score.
An excellent response from NaVi, a much-needed response as well after that initial round, and even though it's all calm, it's collected at the moment from the boys, you know that they're starting to feel this a little bit. They're starting to realize that maybe this tournament is something a little bit different for them, especially compared to what happened in Season 1. You've got to make sure you get over the finish line. You've got to get over those stereotypes that we seem to be finding ourselves talking about every single event with European teams choking, as it were, against some of these NA rosters.
What a massive difference Snipedrone can make to this roster throughout the season. Karmea gets blown back by the repulsor play there. Camouflage will not have the desired effect this time. Jimbo tried to scoop up the ball and get away, but unfortunately not able to be successful on this occasion. Mental then, in pipes, tries to get the trade desperately, but Snipedrone stands strong.
And I love that Onset brought it up. Snipedrone is one of the greatest talents that European Halo has seen in quite some time, and even though he fit very well on that Ascend roster with his play style, as SoSnakey also gets the perfect. Got to imagine that Snipedrone's going to be far more comfortable now on a roster. Everyone's speaking English. There's not going to be any sort of confrontation with any French language coming up as well. I think this is the perfect chance for Snipedrone to shine this season. 29 kills at the moment, but RyaNoob, he has the shock. And he's looking to try and penetrate the defense of NaVi.
RyaNoob continuing to be a thorn in the side of NaVi. A couple of shock rifle shots will connect and take the shields away from the Dutchman Mighties. He backs away in control. Jimbo, with the help of a teammate in Rayne, will see the death screen once more. 2 down on the side of NaVi. Snipedrone could be the latest where the joiner man is. Mighties peeks out and almost loses his face as a consequence.
It is very rare that you're seeing either team all 4 dead. They're doing well at surviving, making sure that last player is going to be making a difference, is going to try and do something, whether it be with your battle rifle or with a grenade, or whether you're just going to make them look in a different angle that allows your team to get out of spawn quite easily, as Mighties comes literally zipping in, but needs some help here.
The help has come in the shape of SoSnakey, but 3 go down, so that push is not going to be successful. Jimbo, last man alive, and you spoke about how they've been doing very well. Can he burn the camo? Yes, he can.
And that's job done. That's what you need to do. You need to do something that makes a difference when you are the last remaining player. 18 assists at the moment for Jimbo. He's not really stood out in terms of kills, in terms of objective, but everyone has to play their part on the roster.
What a pool this is in Pool A. With Rebellion, FaZe, NaVi, 2 #1 seeds. #1 seed in Europe, #1 seed in NA. Find themselves in the same group, and no doubt there's going to be an open team that joins them that will look to be causing a little bit of carnage as well.
And it could come into account later on as well with the one map that NaVi were able to pick up against FaZe. If there was any sort of 3-way tie, it could be huge that they got a game off FaZe, because now FaZe may go on and 3-0 everyone, right? Because they've had that warm-up. It was their first match on LAN after quite some time. And it really could make a difference as they go on. If there was a 3-way tie, that nade's going to do a lot of damage for Jimbo. And I love that he's able to navigate his way out of this situation just to try and delay things.
All 3 members of Rebellion, the last 3 remaining members of Rebellion, almost ate the same grenade. Snipedrone positions himself over towards batteries. This gunfight goes down, but somehow, someway, Karmea gets a trade of his own life. But 2 down for Rebellion now as NaVi pick up the ball, but Mental trying to make this a difficult task and is doing so. Snipedrone position below them. Can he pick up on some of the damage that was being put down? Here's a 1v1. Mental desperately trying to stay alive behind the pillar. He's got away and milked his life long here. Can he get the trade? No, he can't, but that was good.
It was an awkward fight to watch, but in the end, Snipedrone comes out on top. NaVi find themselves 20+ points behind, 23 to be precise. And they were far better in round 2 when they had the lead, when they were able to build on their lead, when they didn't have to force their way onto the ball. Whereas when Rebellion have the lead, they are making it so tough for NaVi to get into these situations to get any time. This could be the first real opportunity, though, for NaVi to get a strong setup. Camouflage is going to be popping as well. So if SoSnakey can get this kill, which he can, how is Mental just getting away time and time again? Just like Jimbo was earlier, it seems like he's going on his own fishing trip.
Tucks his head between his knees and just manages to avoid the headshot. RyaNoob now with the camouflage. What can he do with it? Can he open the door for a Rebellion push? 2 members go down for NaVi. They have numbers advantage for a moment. RyaNoob thought about going towards top elevator, changed his mind. There's a bit of damage to Snipedrone, and now Mighty's last remaining member positioned over towards top control. Teammate and SoSnakey will come to join him. RyaNoob gets face to face with SoSnakey, and with the help of a teammate once more, they get the damage.
Again, NaVi, though, they're still behind. They weren't able to gain the lead with that amount of time they were able to pick up, as it's another reversal for RyaNoob. The camouflage was so important in their push, in their break there, and now they've got ball time. Jimbo tries to force his way into long haul. They are doing a lot of damage, NaVi, at the moment, but still, ball time is being found. Rebellion have been far better at getting that scrappy time, and NaVi need to respond, and they need to do it quickly, Jersey, because there's only about 1 minute 35 left.
I'm glad you mentioned that word scrappy, because that's what we've seen so far in these first 2 rounds of oddball. Nobody really able to put 40, 50, 60 points together. It's all been very scrappy, all very disjointed.
It also suggests that these are quite evenly matched teams as well. We're not seeing a clear favourite, and I think we knew that looking at this group, that this was going to be a damn right dogfight between these 2 squads to try and pick up that 2nd place, depending on who comes in from pools, or from open bracket into pools. But NaVi have been able to close this gap significantly now. It's only a 13-second difference. There is a lot of players trapped in pipes. Nades can make a huge difference here.
Minute 17 on the clock. Snipedrone picks up 1. But ball over towards pipes. It's actually at the feet of two members of Rebellion. They've got a pipe set up now. What can NaVi do with so little time left and so few mistakes you can make now? One goes down, Mighty's gets the opening pick, but he loses a teammate in the process. Ball down. Can Mighty's pick this one up, scoop it away?
That's what he needs to do. I think that NaVi this whole time have been trying to be too perfect sometimes with their setups, but they need to now start taking the initiative a little bit because they are running out of time. You need to be picking up 1 or 2 seconds when it becomes available. Jimbo, last remaining player. RyaNoob has the chance to make a difference here in pipes as well. Shot's going to be up, but here comes the double push from NaVi.
RyaNoob's in big trouble somehow, some way gets a trade though. That's going to make this even more difficult as time is starting to run out. Just over 30 seconds left then. That's going to be Snipedrone who makes the first move. Down on batteries. R2 is the position. The grenades clear him out once more. So close.
There's going to be one last push here for NaVi. Rebellion are just going to play hold. They are going to watch this ball. They're going to make sure that NaVi do not pick it up. And again, it's too dead. Is there any sort of last-ditch attempt here for NaVi Nation?
They've got 9 seconds. Jimbo's got ball, but he hasn't no longer. 5 seconds remaining. And they're like lambs to the slaughter. Snipedrone somehow managed to pick it up and scoop away. The information comes his way. Snipedrone falls with 2 seconds remaining. It's going to be Rebellion that take the game.
It's a fantastic effort from NaVi, but it's Rebellion who show their true colors here and show how much of this practice is paying off. One of the most practiced teams you'd have to feel coming into this season. It's a RyaNoob masterclass yet again. The breaks, the setups, everything seemed to be on point. It wasn't a dominant game, don't get me wrong, but it was just doing enough, and sometimes that's what you've got to do against teams who are very similar in skill level.
You mentioned the word dogfight, and that's what it felt like at times. It was all about frustrating NaVi, and they've done that so successfully in Game 1, Dan.
They really did. I think that NaVi, when they look back at this game now, they'll be a bit frustrated with certain elements that they weren't able to pick up 4 or 5 seconds in certain areas where they maybe hesitated to pick up that ball because one player would be remaining and they think, oh, well, if I go for the ball here, maybe a nade's going to hit us, and then we lose out on some big chunks of time. But I really think they could have picked up those scrappy points to try and make this even closer than it was. But when you look at the scoreboard and the stats, I mean, Snipedrone stood out on the NaVi team. We knew that was going to be very apparent throughout this tournament, but Snakey was keeping up with him. It wasn't the best game for the likes of Jimbo, but I don't think that will kind of trouble him at all. These guys, they are so experienced nowadays. We're not looking at anyone who is going to be worn out or struggling just because it's LAN rather than being online.
And you're looking at the damage, you see Karmea with 10k, almost 11. Snipedrone just behind them with 10,100. We spoke about how those players are going to be so important, particularly with Snipedrone, but Karmea is showing that he can be a real damage dealer on the map.
And one of the biggest differences from online to LAN when you look at Rebellion is Rayne. Rayne was getting the ball. This wasn't happening during the qualifiers. Rayne was very much allowing RyaNoob or anyone who was in the area to get that ball instead, and Rayne just kept his distance. But it does show if you're in the right place at the right time and you know that you need to be getting that ball, that's what Rayne did.
And you spoke about how there was very little to separate them in terms of skill with the oddball. It was actually NaVi who had more oddball time, but it was again Rebellion who got the better of them in those later games and just making it so difficult.
Well, game 2 is going to be Slayer on live fire. Now, this is the best Slayer game type from NaVi throughout qualifiers. They went 3-0, they didn't drop it. They looked pretty flawless, to be honest, but that's against European teams, right? This is a different kettle of fish now. No disrespect to the other European teams they may have faced, but I think as you get into these international tournaments and you start to play against the biggest and best teams in the world, suddenly some of those strategies are not going to work out, and you need to have a game plan. That being said, NaVi do have game plans. I have spoken to the coach. I know that they have assessed everything about this Rebellion roster, and they truly believe they can win this series, but it has to start now.
Well, if you're saying that NaVi have typically been flawless in this map, I'm prepared, in the interest of saving time for indeed the broadcast and everybody else, just to call this series 1-1 and move on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we can go to game 3 here and just make sure this is all even Stevens. Maybe Rebellion wouldn't be happy about that one, but maybe there's some revenge from some of the European players. But RyaNoob and the rest of the squad here, when I looked at their slaying ability, because I was curious, you know, who's the main slayer on this team? Who am I going to be looking out for? And even though you look at Karmea, you look at Mental, these new kind of young guns who have demonstrated what they can do in not just online performances, but LAN, across the board, they're all sharing the slays fairly evenly. There isn't anyone who is the main slayer, it would seem. And I think that's very important when we look at these, because you're not going to see someone have a bad game, a duff game. Someone can always step up on this Rebellion side.
Well, you mentioned the word while you were talking there, you used the word revenge, and we all remember what happened last year when Snipedrone's got something to settle with RyaNoob, and perhaps this could be the series to do it.
Yeah, I spoke to Mighty before this event, and he said that I think the revenge from Snipedrone onto RyaNoob will maybe just give them that little bit of an extra incentive in this series, and sometimes you need that. I mean, you were a player, I was a player. There are teams you just downright hate. There are players you want to make sure you beat because of X reason. It happened at the last event, or it happened 3 years ago. God knows, it could have happened 10 years ago. I would still want to beat certain players in the European Halo scene, right? If I had to play against them on main stage. These rivalries, they live and they breathe through Halo history, and that's what makes Halo such an incredible game to watch.
Well, you speak about players that you always wanted to beat, and I remember talking to you, you and Warlord had a bit of a back and forth, and is Warlord still living rent-free in that head of yours?
I think I'm living rent-free in Warlord's head, but I don't even know why he has to appear. He's not even here. Where are you, Stu? You should be here. You should be on one of those teams, but now it's the new blood, it's the new Europeans who are trying to show us what they're made of, and we need a response, or Europe needs a response from NaVi here. I don't think they'll be too downhearted. I don't think they'll be beaten up here. They knew that Recharge Oddball was going to be tough, but Slayer Livefire, I think, will tell us a little bit more. If we see Rebellion dominate here, then I would start to worry about NaVi's chances in this series.
Well, as we head into game number 2 then, is there a player that you have your eye on that could be the real difference maker here? We already mentioned Snipedrone. Is there somebody else on Rebellion that can maybe be the X factor?
Well, I think that Snakey has already demonstrated he can keep up with Snipedrone's slays. So if you have both of these players on form and firing, get the sniper into Snipedrone's hands, yes, they can make this tough for Rebellion. But on the side of Rebellion, I've already mentioned, all 4 of them are fantastic slayers when they're on and when they're hot and firing.
Here we go then, game 2 then. NaVi looking to desperately tie up the series here, and RyaNoob is going to be the first man to get his hands on that snipe rifle and secure the first open kill for his team. Mighty's 1v1, tries to back away as there was help over the shoulder of RyaNoob, and that kill is going to be meat and drink to the experienced veteran.
NaVi usually impressively structured when it comes to the way they play Slayer Livefire, but one of the things we will always credit Rebellion is how well they break structure, how they can break that mold. Well, RyaNoob, a lot of responsibility to stop that overshield from being picked up. And that shot is huge because now overshield's still going to be there. Teams and his players are going to be spawning, and suddenly it's a downright dogfight once more.
Snakey trying to give RyaNoob the wiggles. Somehow, RyaNoob stays alive and secures the kill for his team. 3 dead for NaVi then. Mighty's last remaining member has got 2 of Rebellion in his sights. Gets force pushed back and gets handled with pretty easily.
No way. Oh, I was going to say, if that story had ended with RyaNoob actually getting the overshield, then it would have been a brilliant one to watch back. But now that overshield is still going to be there. It's still going to be available. Karmea is going to be the player who gets it in the end, but it's quickly wiped. And this has been such a quick start to Slayer Livefire here. Already 24 kills between the 2 teams, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon.
Very fast-paced here. We're going to get another overshield in 25 seconds, so barely a moment to catch your breath. All 4 members up for both teams. We're going to slow down just for a moment. Mighty's will try to put a couple of shots down over on Dummy's ramp. Snakey flies out top middle. Both teams respecting one another and backing away when they need to.
And if you're ever watching and you're wondering, you know, why is there overshields? Why is there camouflages? That's why. Because it forces these fights. It forced that quick pace to the start of this game where both teams were desperately trying to stop the other team from getting the overshield. It wasn't even a case of we need the overshield, it was we cannot allow the other team to start to snowball out of control with these OVs. But it looks like now Rebellion in the best position to set up for the next one. They will get it. It's going to be Karmea again. Now can they start to take advantage of it? We are going to potentially see a heat wave as well. So this is going to be a little bit scary now for NaVi.
The last 2 minutes of this map have been played all the way over on this side of the map. I promise you folks at home, there is another side of the map, but it's all been over here on the overshield.
I'll believe it when I see it. Maybe we're going to start to see a little bit of action over here now. We will indeed, as Karmea will look to push in. Does have the help, but you know, you need the plasma pistol in someone's hands as soon as you know the overshield is going to be into the chest of another Spartan. And as you may have heard, Onset and Bravo in game number 1 mentioning, we've seen a lot of changes now coming into the season. Red racks are very apparent. You are going to see certain weapons that aren't going to be spawning as quickly. So now you've got to make sure you take advantage of it when you have those power weapons in your hand.
And something that we might see later on as the game, the meta starts to develop, then is teams starting to use that tactically, maybe not dropping the weapon so an enemy team can maybe pick up that heat wave.
Yeah, I mean, we saw dirtying weapons back throughout the old history of Halos, and it can certainly play a factor in Halo Infinite, that's for sure. But only 2 kills separate these teams now. Again, I feel like NaVi are a better team when they're ahead, Shurs. I feel like when they're behind, they try and do a little bit too much. But if they can gain control here against Rebellion, perhaps we'll start to see a few kills going in their favor and maybe a gap to be created.
NaVi desperate of just making a few mistakes, and as a result of that, Rebellion really able to punish them. Only separated by 3 though. But shots like that from Rayne connecting on the Snipedrone as he tries to get away dummy side. Put an extra kill in their column. 24-19, just starting to squeak away here with another overshield about to pop.
So again, it's going to be another scrap. There is going to be a lot of setup this time from NaVi, but the heat wave is going to really change things. Snipedrone does pop it in. And it's great that NaVi were at least able to be in a position this time to actually properly contest it. It felt like it was a little bit awkward the times prior. But quite rightly, Rebellion will retreat. They will try and deplete this overshield as much as they can, just purely through time.
Snipedrone's giving chase. He finally does get back touch tight with Karmea, gets the kill, but it's going to be a 2-2 trade. The overshield not doing the sort of damage, not having the kind of swing that you want, as these two teams still separate by 3.
9 kills in the moment for Snipedrone. He is the difference maker on this roster. I think that every player on NaVi deserves to be here, don't get me wrong, but I think that Snipedrone, the addition to NaVi, means that they have that X factor. They have someone who can really take the game by the scruff of the neck. I don't think he's going to be able to stay alive on this occasion. Now 3 go dead, and this is when we're starting to see a little bit of a gap created by Rebellion. They have a 4-kill lead, make it 5, and if they can set up, if they can get this next overshield, it might be a little bit too late for NaVi.
And something we noticed last year, particularly when United had their really strong showings in tournament plays, they were so good on Slayer, and it was like you said, slowing the game down, making it difficult, and they're doing the same thing here.
Yeah, I credited United as being one of the best Slayers teams, if not the best Slayer team prior, and a lot of that was down to this man on your screen, RyaNoob, the way that he sees the game and the way that he strategizes, and he's got Rayne still alongside him. And now with 2 players who are hungry, who are going to be willing to learn, Karmea and Mental, I think as this Rebellion roster develops, it really is going to be a threat to the top teams in this, not just this region, but internationally.
Gonna see another overshield. Snipedrone got the last one, but didn't do much damage. RyaNoob then will scoop up the heat wave. We'll head over top middle then. Looks as though he's gonna need some help from his teammates here. Jimbo will peek out window. Overshield coming fresh out the oven. Who's going to scoop it up? 2 kills go in favor once more of Rebellion. RyaNoob thinks the job is done. 3 dead then. And another overshield for Rebellion.
Yeah, and suddenly now this gap has got a little bit too big in Rebellion with another overshield and catching NaVi on a little bit of a clustered spawn situation as well. They're spawning in 2s. They're not able to really get together as a full squad. They have at least been able to move together off spawn so they can get a little bit closer to watch those angles, but still, Rebellion are finding 1s and 2s in certain places. Again, 3 are dead for NaVi, and now Rebellion only need 8. We would have to see off spawn NaVi get all 4 dead, get an overshield, get a sniper rifle, have all the goodies to have any sort of opportunity, because at the moment, this is looking like Rebellion 2-0.
What was once a gap in kills has now opened up to an entire canyon. As Snakey falls, all 4 dead for NaVi. And perhaps that could be the second nail in the coffin. With game 3 on the horizon here, this one looks all but done.
So impressive how Rebellion have been forcing themselves onto NaVi throughout these spawns. They've not really let NaVi breathe at all. This should be another kill, not another kill, but I don't think it really matters. This one's sewn up, this one's done, it's dusted, and Rebellion are going to be 2-0 up, and it's just a case of when, not if.
1 kill required then. Will it be Rayne to secure it? Jimbo takes 3 shots. Great experience out of Rayne to back down. RyaNoob scoops up the final kill. And it's going to be Rebellion who double their series lead.
It's not going to the NaVi script, that's for sure, but Rebellion, they were confident as ever coming into this series as well. They knew they only had 1 job to do, and it was to shut down another European roster, something that RyaNoob has been able to do many a time. But it is not quite job done in terms of the series. It's only 2-0. We've seen reverse sweeps happen. Doesn't always happen on day 1, I will say, of any sort of Halo major, but maybe this could be a little bit different. As we look at the kills, you asked me who I wanted to focus on, and I said, well, I think Snakey's been performing well. It wasn't the best of games for him. Just couldn't pick up the pace. It's a difficult -10 to look at, that's for sure.
Looking at RyaNoob, 13, 6, and 10. And Karmea once again leading the line for his team. 16, 7 deaths and 5 assists. He's showing up.
Well, as we look across to the damage, and sometimes it can tell a different story, but I think, again, you can look at the Rebellion roster, everyone playing a part in that. Maybe Mental not quite up there with the damage dealt, but he was playing his part in various different ways, whether it was kind of being aggressive on those spawns or making sure he was in areas to stop NaVi from getting that overshield. But I think when we look back at that game, it all starts with that no-scope from RyaNoob onto the overshield, then picks up the overshield. Okay, he didn't pop it in his chest in the end, but that really stopped NaVi from gaining any momentum. It could have been so different after they had won that initial fight.
Confirmation of what we have seen on our screens then. 2-1 oddball recharge. It was close, but no cigar for NaVi. And the Slayer was anything but close. Almost a stake with 50-33, and with King of the Hill, Streets on the horizon. Give me more hope, Dan.
I mean, I love stats, and we're going to see some stats on our screen as well, and I can go into map stats in a little minute, but we've got RyaNoob, we've got Jimbo, two veterans of the scene now, but a very big difference in terms of a story and how they're performing in this series. RyaNoob has been up there after a disappointing last qualifier as well from RyaNoob. I remember that Imperium Slayer where he really struggled, and I think that probably would have eaten away at him a little bit. As for Jim, this is not the Jimbo I'm used to seeing. Going into Game 3 and onward, if we can see Jimbo elevate his performance, maybe he could be the leading factor to get NaVi back into this series. But right now, RyaNoob seems like he is a man on a mission.
Now, you spoke about the stats and you promised me even more as we head into this King of the Hill. What have you got for me, Dan?
Well, King of the Hill is not necessarily NaVi's best game type.
Great.
Typically, they're better at strongholds, right? But I'll give you a little bit of hope when it comes to actually streets. That is their best King of the Hill. So that's the at least little bit of a silver lining for you for NaVi. However, when you look at Rebellion, they did not lose a King of the Hill on any map throughout the qualifiers. They really seem to nail down how they want to approach King of the Hills, whether it be how they're breaking setups, how they are setting up themselves. Their structure is insane when it comes to King of the Hill. So I probably would give this one to Rebellion, especially from what I've seen so far.
Well, we had hopes and expectations that in games 1 and 2, they were going to be really strong for NaVi. And I'm looking at the script. It says here, Sherzy and Dan big up Europe and say this is their chance and opportunity. And then it says just under it, and it doesn't happen. Can they finally rip up the script?
It just, you know, it seems to be the same old story every event. But I'm not going to put NaVi to the sword just yet, because it is a best of 5. It is a series that can very quickly change and turn on its head after a Game 3. But as I did say, Rebellion, they haven't lost a King of the Hill throughout the entirety of the qualifiers. So it depends if you are pessimistic or if you're optimistic when you look at this series, if you are a European fan at home. But if you are, you need to send NaVi their energy, because they haven't looked the same NaVi from what we saw throughout the qualifiers, that's for sure. Maybe it's just a case of they don't feel warmed up, they're not comfortable. I'll give them all the excuses in the world, I guess. But only they really know what's going wrong right now.
Do we have any Jimbo subs in the chat? I'd like to see some Jimbo faces being spammed, because boy, oh boy, does he need it after that Game 2.
He does, and I think that they'll still be confident coming into this Game 3. As I said, it is their best King of the Hill for NaVi. And I think the reason for that is it does play somewhat similarly to times as Stronghold Streets. Like, you can move as a team, you lock down very similar locations, you are going to play in a similar way at certain times throughout the maps. However, some King of the Hill is very different from their strongholds when it comes to the actual map-for-map likeness. As for Rebellion, though, they look so good when it comes to King of the Hill. I love watching how they approach these games. It doesn't matter what team they were playing against. They always had an answer, they always had a strategy, and that could be bad news here for NaVi.
Perception was coming into this tournament that perhaps Rebellion could be got at. They scraped their way into pool play, but they have shown no frailties here in their first series of the day. And they're looking to put NaVi to the sword, but can the boys in black and gold turn their fortunes around?
It's trade for trade right at the start of this game. Snipedrone soars out, but you don't want to be soaring out towards Rayne. But again, good trading. NaVi listening, making sure they are putting themselves in the right position to pick up those kills and not allow Rebellion to perhaps set up as we expect them to. But Red Gun now going to be available for Mental. The Stalker Rifle just hits so hard, and it's going to be so important who can really control this weapon throughout this game.
Mental really lighting up the boys on NaVi here. All 4 dead they go, and just Mental locking down that lane as he moves now over towards PD. Looking to handcuff this NaVi team here and now. Mighty's goes down, and Mental still making it a really difficult kill, buying more time. And look at that already. Rebellion have over half the hill that they need.
But now Snipedrone does have control of the Stalker Rifle, and now it's his turn to make a big difference. NaVi at least stopped Rebellion from getting a solid single point to begin with. We sometimes do see teams getting that first point on the board very consistently and very comfortably, and then it snowballs out of control because the other team is not able to really catch up. But NaVi have demonstrated that this is not going to be a walkover situation, and they still have life in them just yet.
Snipedrone will get taken care of, not really able to use that Stalker Rifle. As Rebellion take control once more. Starting to just ever so slightly get into the ascendancy here. 2 go down for NaVi. That is something I'm getting all too familiar with saying right now.
And you do wonder, maybe the FaZe series sucked a little bit of life out of NaVi. Maybe they put so much effort into that game that a little bit of energy perhaps is what they need now going into this second series of the day. We always know that any Halo tournament is a marathon, and you really have to be prepared for game after game, sometimes for long days as well. Staying sharp and on point in all of these maps and series can be difficult for more players than others, but it's going to be 1-0. Shopify Rebellion will take the first point, but NaVi do get all 4 dead, but maybe a little bit too late.
Is this an opportunity then? Can NaVi take control of the map? Can they hold down the lanes that we spoke about? Rayne getting shot in the back, but Snakey is unaware of the player position behind him. It should result in a trade, but somehow the Englishman escapes with his life, for now at least. As now RyaNoob sets him up and takes him down, but it's going to be another trade here. 2 down for Rebellion, 1 on the side of NaVi, and Snipedrone tiptoes into the hill.
Yeah, just by surviving there, Snakey made such a huge difference because Rebellion was still calling him out, and even though he did get killed, they put so much effort into trying to kill him, they exposed themselves to allow the rest of NaVi to take down the player comfortably. And now this is what I like about NaVi. They are very good at setting up on Streets King of the Hill. They know how they want to prioritize certain areas here, but can they secure the point will be my biggest question.
Snipedrone just patrolling here around the ATMs. Just a little bit of timing has done him in here as a player's gone towards the Stalker Rifle, but dropped back down. Karmea is in behind him now on commando. The Bulldog not able to take sufficient chunks out of Rebellion, and the setup's been broken wide open.
And again, it's another beautiful push from Rebellion. They strategized. They almost gave them the dipsy doodle a little bit. They sent themselves over towards Arcade. They made some noise, they made a little bit of a ruckus, and then they suddenly darted through bottom middle, and they really caught NaVi off guard. And now Rebellion have the opportunity to hold down and lock down this hill to try and make it 2-0. And it goes right back to my point. NaVi just couldn't quite get over the finish line. It was something Mighty was talking about before this event. They struggle in King of the Hill sometimes just to lock down that point.
Here's NaVi's Achilles heel coming back to bite them once more. Snakey back base will get handled by the Bulldog. That's 2 dead, and NaVi just need a sliver of time in this hill, but it's important they don't desperate it.
It's so tough because you want to just be able to stop Rebellion from picking up any serious time here, so they're not a threat for getting a point here. But now with rockets in the hands of RyaNoob, suddenly NaVi are going to be looking at this one saying, okay, we need to avoid the rockets. If we even think about going towards this hill, are we going to get blown up? But there's some good damage coming from a distance. RyaNoob will shoot one across, does not hit, and he will go down, but at least he gets rid of the rockets.
RyaNoob shoots 2 flares, doesn't find a home. 2 dead, make it 3 for Rebellion. And will NaVi now be able to secure that final point? It looks as though Mental's going to give it up and try and play for the rotate over towards Statue here. 1-1, we're all tied up.
Well, NaVi needed that. It was looking a little bit worrying that maybe Rebellion were going to be able to hold and lock it down over towards Station, as again, Mental impresses me more and more every time I see his screen. You heard Onset talking about it, a 22 times Gears of War champion, but now would love to try and progress towards a Halo championship as well. There's not many players that can talk about multiple championships across different esports titles. We're lucky enough in Halo to have them. Now we'll see whether Rebellion can get back into this game in a way that will shut down NaVi from any sort of thought of a comeback in this series.
If Jose Mourinho here, he'd be talking about Halo heritage. That's what he'd be speaking about. And there's plenty of it at this tournament. None more so than Mental, that man on your screens, with 22 championships. How old is this man?
He doesn't look much older than 22, I will say, so perhaps he started very early. Although Gears of War was, what, 16 plus, so makes it even more impressive. Nice hold down and lockdown at the moment from Rebellion. They were waiting, they were baiting, they weren't grabbing the hill time, but they said to NaVi, look, you come along. We don't need to at the moment. We've got a little bit of a lead. We don't have to start getting too desperate. Instead, we're going to take advantage. All 4 now dead, and the trap was set, and it worked perfectly.
NaVi attracted to the cheese. Now Karmea's got the boombox over his shoulders. He's gonna play a little bit of heavy metal. Down goes Snipedrone. Numbers advantage once more, favor Rebellion. 2 dead for NaVi. Jimbo last man alive, and he is so far away he will have absolutely no influence.
This should be a guaranteed point here for Rebellion. NaVi are going to have one last chance of pushing if they want to, but most likely they're going to start thinking about setting up for this next hill. So they're going to allow this one to go. But for Rebellion, they don't have to score it straight away. This is what's beautiful about the new way of King of the Hill in Halo Infinite ever since it was introduced, is that you can choose when to finish this point. You can get players in areas to start thinking about the next hill before you secure it.
Still haven't stepped in to secure that second hill. Waiting for the pieces to all fall together here. zMightys trying to stop that. Be a thorn. Drop wall goes down. RyaNoob will push the Dutchman away. Really starting to express themselves here and just keeping NaVi at arm's length, but perhaps they've opened the door here for the boys in black and gold.
They have, but they've done it on purpose. Now NaVi are going to be spawning on this side of the map. NaVi have to really prioritize trying to score, obviously. But it means if Rebellion get an all 4 dead, they stick their toes into the hill, they score the point, and then they're already set up for the next one. It could be a beautiful masterpiece of a plan, but you do put it at risk. There is the possibility that it all could go wrong, that's for sure, but now Mental maybe sensing that, steps into the hill, secures the point, and Rebellion, they're 2-1 up.
It's a 1v1 on the map for the moment. It's Jimbo against Mental. Sentinel Beam will absolutely fry the shields. That hits different on LAN, I promise you that. And it's going to be Karmea controlling the cafe spawns. zMightys in PD, and he could be about to suffer the same fate as his teammate. And indeed he is. Evaporated to dust, looking like Thanos has just snapped his fingers.
The same what was that?
A fate. I put a H there. It's an Irish thing. I keep dropping H's, adding H's. It's a real problem.
Having faith in someone, but 2-1. Killing spree again for Mental, but is going to be eventually shut down. And the trouble is, for NaVi, only 50 seconds remaining, sure. So this is going to be their last chance to try and pick up a hill to try and tie this game. Otherwise, Rebellion are going to walk away in this series with a 3-0. Karmea's got the Bulldog, and he's doing the damage. And time is running out. Rebellion now can play this one in a way where they just watch NaVi run towards the hill, they slay them out over and over again, and they just win 2-1.
Was this the plan over on the statue side, just to eat away, almost having yourself an insurance policy?
Yes.
With 32 seconds then, 2 members go down once more, and this is exactly what Rebellion wanted, was to make NaVi play a little bit desperate.
Fairly certain E United were one of the only teams last year to win 1-0 in King of the Hill. And I was always crediting RyaNoob to be able to do that, but I do think he was trolling when it happened. That was over on Recharge that it did happen. But now, 2-1, 20 seconds remaining. Rebellion will step in, but they step out, they do the hokey cokey, and they turn around, and now NaVi have to get desperate for this hill.
In Ireland, that was called the hokey pokey.
You do things differently over there. 10 seconds remaining, double kill, and now NaVi, they're 3 dead. This one's done.
Done and dusted, it would seem. Karmea and Rayne combined once more just to lock in one more kill before the buzzer. And with 2-1 the final score, 3-0 the series lead. It's Rebellion who claim all the points.
There is no revenge tour for Snipedrone onto RyaNoob. Not yet anyway. It is just pool play and things can very much change as we get into bracket play, but for NaVi, now their aim is to make sure they get into bracket play. Their chances of second place maybe just went down a helter-skelter as they lost 3-0. They're going to have to look to try and beat that pool play team that comes from the open bracket to try and secure themselves in the elimination bracket later on as we get into Championship Saturday and Sunday. But what a performance it was from Rebellion, a very telling one. I think one of the biggest questions we had coming into this event is how are Sentinels going to look? How are Rebellion going to look? Because they were a kind of a mixed match. They were forced to make these changes to be these teams. And I'd say both teams have demonstrated that actually they could be a real threat to the top teams in this tournament.
Well, speaking about the top teams, Rebellion are going to have to play FaZe, and we already seen NaVi almost take FaZe the distance with a very close Empyrean game and also winning an objective game, not just a Slayer. Have we seen enough here to suggest that Rebellion could take on the big dogs in FaZe?
I certainly think Rebellion can make it difficult for FaZe. I believe FaZe are the best team at this tournament alongside Optic Gaming, so they're still going to be the favorites. But I think that Rebellion, you know, if the game types go well for them, there could be a map or two there. As we look at the stats, it was Karmea who really showed what he was made of when it came to kills, but Mental with their 6k damage, they had so much fun, Rebellion, there. They were almost toying with NaVi at moments during that game.
And there was question marks, right, over RyaNoob and Rayne picking up these two players, but you can see exactly why they've done it. They've seen something in these two guys with 6k damage, that is so much, and the European team just couldn't match.
It's the same old story for Europe. Unfortunately, it's a chance to try and break into that top 8 in the early stages, but it may be the elimination bracket where NaVi have to make their run. It's crazy to say that already in pool play, but unfortunately that's how the cookie crumbles. If you lose to the team that is the second seed when you are in pool, that's what can happen sometimes. But I think the biggest story here is Rebellion look like the real deal.